So in the morning, I'm gonna do a little painting this morning. This is gonna be for a doodle wash prompt, which is a subject is a crocus, beautiful flower. So let me show you how I start this thing out. I'll use this. This is my reference. So I'll put that up here and got a sketch. I got my plein air watercolor pad, which has got 140-pound paper and also drawing paper inside. And my tools here this morning is I've got a mechanical pencil with a 2B lid, and I have a eraser. And I'm going to use a little bit of masking fluid today to do part of the painting. Over here I've got some brushes, and these are all Holbein brushes. This is a 3/4 inch synthetic. This is a number 8 round. This is a 1/2 inch synthetic flat. And this is a number 18 round. These are all Holbein brushes, and these are on my webpage on everestwatercolors.com on my supplies. So let me get started. So first thing I do is I do a detailed sketch, and what I do is I take a look at the picture and see the shapes and so forth. I see the petals overlapping, but because of this nice light center in here, I'm gonna mask that part out before I do the leaves. So I've got those drawn in, at least enough. And this is the other tool I have here it's called Fine Line. It's a masking fluid, and it's called a mask pen. Masking fluid and a mask pen. And what this does, it's very easy to put this on. And I'm going to follow the design here, just like drawing with a mask pen. Just like drawing with I'm putting the masking fluid on there, and I'm going to put masking fluid in the center to save this color with a white paper, and I can go back in and paint in some of that color. So I'm kind of designing that center right now, just kind of drawing it in with the masking fluid. Okay, now that'll take about 5 or 10 minutes to dry, and always make sure I put the top back on. Okay, now this fine line mask pen with a masking fluid is also available on my website, everestwatercolors.com, and I use that all the time on especially a small area like this. Okay, now while that's drying, let me mix up some of the colors. Now the colors I see here, it's like it's got a little violet, where it's got little reds and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some colors here. I'm going to start out with lavender color, and I'm going to start out with a base color. Let's say lavender. Mix that up over here. And I always have a test sheet here of paper, and then I match that against the color I want. Now I got a little bit of, I see a little bit of red, so I'm going to use a little bit of lavender. I'm going to add in a little bit of rose. And that's getting pretty close. A bit of pink, so a little bit of highlighted pink. Oh, this is opera. This is a watercolor opera from Holbein, and this is lavender. Okay, and I'm gonna mix up another color just to be a little blue. That's a little bit cobalt blue, and then I'll take a little bit of this quinacridone violet, and let me see what that looks like. Okay, I think between the colors I see here, I have a lighter purple with the lavender with the opera. And then I put the cobalt blue with the quinacridone violet. And then I match it against the colors here on the paint on the picture. And it looks like the quinacridone violet and they both will work. So I'm going to use them. I'm going to use both combinations of those colors. The opera versus the opera plus the lavender, this little color here, and this little swatch up here is the cobalt blue and the aquamarine quinacridone violet mixture here. Okay. Okay, well that masking fluid is still a little wet, so I'm going to let that dry. Now the masking fluid is dry. So what I'm going to do is mix up. I mixed up some of these colors. I'm going to get a little more of the mixes. So mix up enough paint to cover colors I'm going to use to the cobalt blue and the quinacridone violet. Okay, that's the darker violet. And then the lighter violet, I'm going to use the lavender, the Holbein watercolor lavender and opera. That'll give me a light value of violet. It's got a little red in it. Okay, that's pretty. Okay, now my first step here is I know I've got a dark background, so this is all lighter colors, so I can go ahead and cover the colors. And I'm going to start with the lighter mix here and start in from the center area and then moving out. So I'm going to color in this area here, starting in the center. And I'm using a flat, this half-inch flat brush, and I'm just putting the colors in, and just a flat brush work. Don't worry about the detail and design. Leave a little bit of white paper showing. Now on the edges, on the outside, I'm gonna make a little darker mix out here. Now, don't worry about the following the lines too much because I'm going to put a dark background. So I just want to get the color on the petals here, and I'm going to leave some white paper showing. Just make sure I get the outline covered, because I'll go back in and fill in a darker background behind that. And so make sure I get the subject covered to paint around it. Okay, I'll take a little bit of light color now and go back in, maybe just kind of blend those together a little bit, get that light color in there, give a little different look. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry. I have to let that dry now because I'm going to go around with put a darker background behind it. It'll pop it out. And then with a smaller brush, I'll go in and I'll do a little bit of shadowing here on the petals to separate the petals a little bit later. That's really all I have to do. So that's just the first application of the lavender and the opera light, the light mix of violet, and then the darker mix of violet I put in the cobalt blue and the quinacridone violet here mixture. Give me a darker violet. Okay, and I use the 1/2 inch flat Holbein brush, synthetic, works for me. You'll have to let that dry before I come down with the darker background and put in some detail. Okay, that layer is dried. Now I'm going to do the dark background next. So let me take the large brush. This is a 3/4 inch Holbein synthetic. These synthetic brushes are really nice. Nice spring to them, and they cover a lot of area. So I'm going to mix up some darker colors here. This is my dark blue and a little bit of brown, maybe some green. And I'm going to go in there and do a quick wash. I vary the colors. I'm picking up a little bit of burnt sienna, putting it with that green, and I'm going to carve out that edge of that flower to define that edge. Pick up a little bit of blue. So I use a variety of colors in the background just to give it a little, again, interest. And see the sharp edges of that brush, it really gets in, it really defines that edge. I'll pick up some more color, maybe a little bit of red. Mix a little bit of red in with that green. This flat brush, when you lay it out, a little bit of quinacridone violet. When you lay it out, it gives you a nice sharp edge. Pick up a little bit more of that brown, a little bit of burnt sienna. It was just a variety of color. The background is just make sure it's dark. And this one here, that petal's a little smaller. And I'll pick up some more of that green over here. Just make sure I got a variety of colors in the background, make it more interesting. Because all I'm doing now is just painting around I'm following my sketch. I have a sketch under there. I'm following the pencil lines that I drew. And now I'm just adding a dark color mix and a little more blue over here. And then come around the edge of that, again, just carefully going around the edge of the shape. So I have that, and then the corners of the brush, sides of the brush. You know, flat brush you can really do a lot of work with. Just really can do one whole painting with just one brush. And if I had one brush to paint with, I would use the flat, 3/4 inch flat. Does a lot of work. I use the corners of the brush. I use the sides of the brush, ends of the brush. I'm just turning it around so I can see better. And let's see, I'll put some more blue in there. Maybe a little more violet. Just put a little violet in there. Put a little violet. I put a little bit of quinacridone violet in there just to get around. Now, just go around that edge. Define the edges here. Get the corners. Yeah, we're coming up here at the end of this. I'll come up here and just I leave a little white edge too. I mean, it don't have to be perfect. This is just a sketch. This is a quick doodle. of a crocus flower, and all I'm doing is just capturing. Said, no, let me pick up some more of that brown. I got brown over there, so I'll pick up a little bit of brown over there. Kind of, you know, keep those colors moving. Now that paint's still wet, they'll still mix a little bit there on the paper. So I just have a nice colorful background, and then now I'm going to go in and make sure I got darks. Add a little more paint here around the edges. Again, to make sure that's a nice dark mix. And showing some of the brush strokes back there, which is okay. Gives me a variety. Okay, let that dry a little bit. I'll come back and finish off the flower. Okay, you're going to go in, you do a little detail on the flower. I'm going to use this number 16 gold Holbein brush, another great brush that I have. And I'm going to mix that cobalt blue and a little bit of the quinacridone violet. Get that dark blue mix. A little more violet, a little more violet. Okay. And now I'm going to go in and define some of these edges. So this up here, I'm going to put this in. I'm going to have this edge here come out a little bit darker against the other edge. The other edge is behind. And I still got the masking fluid on here, so I won't bother the colors on the inside. And I'll put a little bit of color on this one. What I'm doing now is I'm separating those petals. And what I'll do is I'll take the flat half-inch brush now, and I'll just blend that edge out, just blend that color out just a little bit to go in with the rest of the flower. But I want that one edge to be a little darker against that petal. And this is just a half-inch brush with a little bit of water in the brush, just to blend out that color a little bit. So I'm just separating the petals. And this one here, I'll make this one dark here on this side, just to give it a different value on the edge, so that it shows that there's a separate petal. Just to separate the petals a little bit. This one here, I'll make a dark underneath. Some edges I'm making dark on top. This one I'm making dark on the bottom, just to separate the edges. Separate those petals a little bit. Again, I took a picture here, but now my interpretation, my own interpretation, is coming in. I don't follow the picture exactly. So right now I'm really trying to make my painting a little more individual. Everybody will have a different look of what they want to have. Here I'm just adding a little of that paint to separate those petals. And this one I can come underneath on this side too, make this one different. So this will be a little bit darker petal here, because it's behind. And this last one, I can separate underneath here. So each petal is going to have a little different look, which is what I wanted. Each petal is a different shape, and each petal has a little different look. And it's just a sketch. It's just a sketch. Now this one over here, I'm going to put a little color on the edge, on the point out here, just to give it a little more variety on the edge. And maybe this one up here, I'll put a little bit on the corner, on the outside edge. And this one here needs a little color out here on the edge. So now I'll do some fine tuning now with this flat brush. I'll just go ahead and, what I'm doing, blending out a little bit of that color so that it's a little smoother. but I still want that rough. I want a little bit of texture on this leaf. I don't want on this petal. I don't want it to be smooth looking. There's a little bit of texture there, a little variety in the color. Also, I'm going to use a small brush now. I noticed if you look at the photograph, there's these little lines in here. So let me put a little, take some of that violet mixture with a. Now this is a number six round Holbein brush. So I've used four Holbein brushes in this little sketch, this little painting, and so I'm going to put some lines in the leaves here, just or in the petals, just to give a little bit of character. Again, using my interpretation a little bit, just to get the characteristic of the object. In this case, a little bit of okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna let that dry. Okay, now, okay, the paintings, the petals are dry. So this is a rubber mask pickup to pick up the masking fluid. So I'm going to take off the masking fluid now. Remember, I protected the white paper in the beginning with the mask pen. Now the rubber cement pickup picked up the masking fluid. So remember, as you recall, the mask pen I used to protect the white paper. So now I can go back in and put that color, put these the center of the flower with a little orange and a little bit of yellow in the center to give it to mark finish off the painting. So let me see. The brush I'm going to use, probably a small brush. Let's see. So I'm going to mix up and move these other brushes out of the way. So with a small round brush, number 6 round Holbein, going to mix up some colors here. I'm going to need some yellow. So this is a lemon yellow, which is one of my brightest yellows. Then a little bit of orange, permanent orange, yellow orange. So those two colors there will finish off the center. I'll start with a lighter color first, and I'll put in that yellow in this section. I'm going to leave some of the white paper showing too. I mean, I think the white paper gives the painting a little sparkle, so I'm going to leave white paper showing. And get that yellow, rich yellow color. Then I'll pick up the orange, which is the center of the flower, and I'll bring that in. And there's one section here which is nice orange color comes in into the center. So the orange mixes in with that yellow. And I can take a little bit more of that blue at the quinacridone violet and blue mix and sharpen up a little bit more. Maybe sharpen up a little bit more of these lines, which is characteristic of this flower, especially in the center. Well, that's my interpretation of the crocus flower. I started out with a photograph as a reference, and then I went in and did a sketch Then I put in the color of the flowers first with the mixtures of lavenders and purples. And then I put in a dark background. Remember, I masked out the center first to save the white paper. And then I put in a detail on the petals. I used 4 brushes of Holbein brushes. Now all these paints and brushes are available on my website, everestwatercolors.com. So I really enjoyed doing that. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time on the next video.